Shalom, beloved of the Lord. I trust that you are alive and well. And this is John Jue Elias coming to us on 5138. And the title of our homily today is Comforting the Morning. Comforting the Morning. We would want to know, now that we have said that there are losses, there are pain, there are sorrow, there are mourning and grieving, how do we comfort those that have had all these losses that we talked about? We would want to start by reading Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 1 to 4. And this is mainly because death is the greatest loss. I think death is the greatest loss that anyone can incur, especially of someone that you love, someone that you have a relationship with. So when we talk about mourning, we talk about comfort. Death and losing a loved one is top on the agenda. But in our introductory homily on loss and grief, we say that there are other losses that mainly people ignore, but they also affect people's lives, that needs to be also spotlighted. And that is why the Lord Jesus Christ has prompted us to talk about these things. So let's now go right into Ecclesiastes chapter 1 to chapter 7 verse 1 to 4, and we are talking about comforting the morning, part 1. This is part 1. We will deal with only 5 aspects today, and then tomorrow we will go to other aspects in addition to what we are discussing today. Now, Ecclesiastes 7 verse 1 to 4 says, "A good name is better than fine perfume." A good name, if you have a good name, is better than fine perfume. That is very good or expensive perfume. And then the day of death is better than the day of birth. Why is it that the day of death is better than the day of birth? It is because when you are born, you are just given an opportunity to live and to project to your destiny. But when you die, that is the seal on your destiny. So you'll have sealed your destiny at death. So the day of death is better than the day of birth. So we should treasure how we are likely to die, because that will seal our destiny. Verse 2 says, "It is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to a house of feasting." Right? That's another parallel, that it is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. If you are invited for a funeral and for a wedding, where do you likely make your decision to go to? I guess mostly to the house of wedding, but we are advised to go to the house of mourning, the funeral house, the funeral process or procession than a wedding procession. For death is the destiny of every man. Death is our destiny. Each one of us is heading to the grave. Each one of us is heading to cessation of life, the stoppage of life. That is our destiny. It is not even to heaven. It is to death. We are designed and we are destined for death. For death is the destiny of every man. The living shall take this to heart. Then another parallelism, that sorrow is better than laughter. Sorrow is better than laughter, because a sad face is good for the heart. A sad face is good for the heart. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning. The heart of the wise person is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of pleasure. That is a great parallelism, right? It's a great comparison of different things, right? So when we have people lose their loved ones, when we have people lose their items, when we have people lose their properties, when we have people lose their habitation, like it has happened through floods, through locust, through COVID, and through normal death, those people are mourning, and we are encouraged to go to their place and be with them. But then when we go to be with them, what do we tell them? At times we are at loss to say things. When someone you care about is grieving after a loss, it can be difficult to know what to say or to do. The bereaved struggle with many intense, painful emotions, including depression, anger, guilt, and even profound sadness. Often, they also feel isolated and alone in their grief, since the intense pain and difficult emotions can make people uncomfortable about offering support. You may be afraid of intruding, saying the wrong thing, or making your loved one feel even worse at such a difficult time. Or maybe you think there is little you can do to make things better. I believe you have been there. We have all been there. And that's understandable. But don't let discomfort prevent you from reaching out to someone who is grieving. Now more than ever, your loved one needs your support. You don't need to have answers or give advice or say and do all right things. The most important thing you can do for a grieving person is simply to be there. It's your support. It's your caring presence that will help your loved one cope with the pain and gradually begin to heal. In all these cobwebs on what to say and what to do, the most important thing is just to be there. It's just to offer your support, maybe your physical support and caring presence. Have you heard people say, I didn't see my friend come to my so-and-so's funeral? And then your other friend say, no, she was there. Oh, she was there. Oh, he came. And then when they realize that somebody saw them and they came, that person gets to be relieved. The friends were there. He did not see them. She did not see them. But when she is told so-and-so was there, somebody just calms down. Why? Because the ministry of presence is very important. It's one of the ways you can use to comfort the mourning. Now, let's quickly talk about these 5 aspects if God can help me in this podcast. Number 1 is the ministry of presence, as we have talked about. Then number 2 is just listening to what the affected has to say without so much intruding. Then the third one is just being there in a mourning mode with them. There are cultures which have professional mourning. I'm not encouraging that. But if it's a mourning session, we are taught to go and mourn. So just be there and mourn. Number 4 is acknowledging the loss. To those that have been affected, you greet them, you acknowledge the loss. I'm sorry you lost your father, or you lost your mother, or you lost your job, or you lost your house, or you lost everything in the earthquake or in the flood. That is a way of comforting. Then also asking relevant questions without intruding. Can you tell me what happened? And in narration, there is power of relief. Now, I just want to go right away into the book of Job. Let's read the book of Job. The ministry of presence is very important, and that is a main factor in offering comfort to those that are believed. Let's read Job chapter 2 and verse 11 to verse 13. Now, when Job's friends, three friends, heard of all the loss that was come upon him, they came everyone from his own place. Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, Zophar the Naamathite, for they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him. Mark the word. They had come to mourn and to comfort him. And when they lifted up their eyes afar off and knew him not, they lifted up their voice and wept. And they rent everyone his mantle and sprinkled dust upon their heads toward heaven. That was the Jewish culture of mourning. They didn't recognize him because he was in his mourning mode. And that is very common. You can go to mourn with people and you don't even know where the main person is common. Verse 13, so they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none spake a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great. His grief was very great. They were with him for 7 days and 7 nights, and none of the 3 men, including Job, uttered a word. What does that mean? That was what is called the ministry of presence. You just being there. You may not say a word. You may not engage in a conversation. You may not go for the narration to be told. But your presence, being there alone, is enough. They sat on the ground. There is people that when they are bereaved, they don't sit on sofas. They don't sit on chairs, especially the immediate family members. Right, they sit right on the floor. It's one of the ways of mourning. And when you visit them, then you do the same and you mourn with them. So Job's 3 friends sat on the ground for 7 days and 7 nights, and none spake a word. That is the ministry of presence. The other one is just to listen. Just to listen. Listen to what the affected person is saying without even uttering much. That is careful listening. You listen carefully. Right here in Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 1 to 2 says, guard your steps when you go to the house of God. Allow me to also add, when you go to the house of mourning. Go near to listen. Go near to listen. Careful listening, rather than to offer the sacrifice of fools. Rather than starting to talk and you talk things that offend the bereaved. That would be the worst thing to do. You go to mourn with a person, you are a parrot, and you start parroting things unfounded, and then they hurt more. They hurted. That is the worst thing to do. So go and listen rather than to offer the sacrifice of fools who do not know what they do wrong. Do not be quick with your mouth, verse 2. Do not be hasty with your heart to utter anything before God and also before the bereaved. That is called, careful listening. You listen, you nod, you say, aha, oh, I see, Oh, what did you feel? Right? Number 3, it is wailing in mourning, like we have just talked. You just being there to do what they are doing, to identify yourself with that, and that will be that would amount to you mourning with those that are mourning. I would want to quickly read from the book of Genesis chapter 50, Genesis chapter 50 and verse 10 to 14. Genesis 50 verse 10 to 14. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is behold Jordan. And there they mourned with a great and very sore lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians, whereof or wherefore the name of it was called Ambemizrain, which is beyond Jordan. And his sons did unto him according as he had commanded them. For his sons carried him into the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of Machpelah. And verse 14, and Joseph returned unto Egypt, he and his brethren. This is the sons of Jacob mourning him when he died, and they took him all the way to Israel. To the land of Canaan. These were types of mourning. This was one type of mourning, lamenting, wailing. That is joining the procession. You know, that can be comforting to those that have been bereaved.